impressive. And Mike McDaniel yesterday in his press conference talked a little bit about just what a good job Trey Lance is doing, grasping the 49ers offense. I know that was kind of where we wanted to start tonight. What were your takeaways from his comments?
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely encouraging, and it's not surprising, not for us anyways, because we talked to Coach McAvoy, and McAvoy told us that he was a savant when it came to picking up playbooks, and when he would have meetings during the draft process with other coaches, how it turned into a session where he was teaching them things on the whiteboard. And I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds like his quarterback coach trying to pump him up, but the reality is everything that he told us has come to light. And when we interviewed him the second time, that was one of the questions we asked. We're like, hey, is it possible that Trey Lance learns this offense a lot faster than what people realize? And he said, yes, absolutely. NDSU has a very verbose playbook. It's a very deep playbook. There's a lot going on. There's a lot with play action. There's a lot under center. There's a lot with him having to know protections and audibles. And on top of that, even when he wasn't playing and Easton Stick was the quarterback there, they would do a scenario where Easton would do a play and then he would come in and have to do the same exact play and run it to perfection. And that was as a true freshman when he was getting no burn. So the fact that we heard all of that, we're like, no. By the time this season starts, he's going to have a full grasp of the offense. And here we are roughly a month before it. And McDaniel's saying it's nice because we kind of have a coach on the field. And it just brings me back to, we've never heard any of this about Jimmy, right? So for him to do this 3 months into this process and wow people, not only with the throws that he's making, not only with the poise, not only with the legs, but now that he's wowing everybody in the building from the shoulders up, extremely impressive.
Yeah, and that's what you go back to that interview as you mentioned already about the one we did with Coach McAvoy, and that's the one that just keeps popping back. And I kind of retweeted that out today because everything that we talked about in that interview is like you said, it's showing up, and it shows up. I when I was watching practice on this last week, especially when they were in team, and I just I said over and over, everything that we had and everything we talked about in that conversation is showing up on the field. Everything that we talked about as far as what was showing up on the film is showing up on this field. And what's so impressive about it is, he did it against the FCS competition in college, and he got knocked for that. Now he's doing it against guys in the NFL, and
he's still getting knocked for it.
I was going to go there. Yes, exactly. Because it's that and even though it might seem like he's the same player, he's not, because like you just said, he's playing against guys at the NFL level. They're better. Everybody out there, even if he's playing against the backups, is better than what he faced at North Dakota State, top to bottom. But it's just impressive, and everything that like you said, everything that Coach McAvoy told us is showing up right in front of our faces every day. And if there's anybody out there that's watching this that hasn't seen that, go ahead and jump on Jay's channel or mine and take a look at that, because it's very important to help you understand who the quarterback is that you're watching on the field with the 49ers come next Sunday or Saturday night, excuse me.
It's funny because you and I were really on the same page about this, and we didn't even talk about it. You had tweeted out those things this morning and talked about that interview, and I actually wrote an article last night that got published today that referenced that interview as well, and basically saying what you just said, which is everything Coach told us about Trey was right all along. Every single thing. It wasn't him hyping up his player. It was him just telling us what reality is. And everybody that's seeing it in person is extremely wowed. And you've got this segment of the fan base that maybe they just need to see it, right? Seeing is believing. But right now, they're not trying to hear it. They don't like the source. I don't know. It's he hasn't played a snap. He hasn't. It's always something. It's well, he's doing it without pads. Let's see how it happens with pads. Okay, well, how about he gets better when the pads get put on? Well, but he's not doing it against the first team. And then when he does it against the first team, it's, well, let's see it with live bullets. It's going to be constant. And the reality is, this kid is that good. Plain and simple, this is who he is. If everybody, regardless of if you like the source, whether it's Grant or you or Mayoko or whoever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
If everybody is telling you the same thing, and everybody who's been a part of this organization from afar and seen these practices in the past are telling you this kid is different and he's special, at what point do you just listen? Like, that's just a question I have for that segment. When do you just listen? He is this good. Be excited. This is our future. And even if and that's the other thing. It's not like we don't want Jimmy to succeed, right? And it's not like Jimmy isn't succeeding. This is the scenario that I talked about a lot leading up to this is Jimmy can be at his best and it still won't be as good as Trey. And that's a good thing for 49er fans. We should be happy about that. We want Jimmy to be at his best because if Trey can be better as a rookie than Jimmy at his best, we've got somebody really special on our hands, and we should just be happy about that.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I like your point about fans maybe not liking the source. And what's interesting to me about that is that pretty much every source that's out there right now that's attending practice is telling you the same thing. There's really only one that I can think of who isn't stating how good Lance is in comparison to Garoppolo. It's still there's pretty much everybody else that's there is saying this guy looks special. This guy is doing things that we haven't seen on the field before, and I think a lot of it comes down to what you said. They need to see it. They need to get this guy on the field, and that's why Saturday, next Saturday when they take on the Chiefs is going to be so important. And I think the ratings are going to be so big because all of a sudden everybody that's a 49er fan that has the ability to get that game is going to be able to get their eyes on this guy. And all I got to say is, this guy, everything you saw him do at North Dakota State when he dominated at North Dakota State, he's doing that. He's doing that on the field every day at practice, or at least the last 2 days since they put the pads on. And it's just wild. It's extremely impressive. I can't go. I don't know if there's any other words that I can put into it. And I agree with you. If he continues on this progression, I don't see how he's not the starter week one. I just don't, because he's so much further ahead at this point than anybody thought. And part of the reason, let me step back, and you mentioned how you had wrote the article that out today and how I tweeted it out. I know neither one of us had talked. I didn't know that article was coming out. I had no idea. But you started to see some tweets today from myself and from Grant and whatnot about tweets that we had sent out back in early in the process back in January when we first started taking looks at Trey Lance. And and part of it was I was saying I was wrong. When I first looked at Trey Lance, I was wrong. I didn't see the guy that should be taken in the first round, let alone be the third pick in the draft. I missed it, And then once the trade was made, I went back and I looked at it and I watched every bit of what I could do. I started doing the film breakdowns for my YouTube channel, which forced me to go slower through the material so that I can then explain it to everybody. And that process really helped me to understand probably what I think Kyle Shanahan was seeing. I made a little bit of a mistake in front, but I wanted to show everybody that I did make a mistake, and here's how it got better. And then also I wanted to make sure that they understood. Heck, I admitted that I was wrong, and I even told Coach McAvoy that in our interview that I was wrong about that. But he's everything. And then on top of that, the point that you made, as far as people doubting him, the doubt was another doubt that popped up today I saw was. What's going to happen when he's doing great right now, but the quarterbacks know they can't be hit. Makes it easy to stand in the pocket when they can't be hit. So that's why if you look at my Twitter feed, there's the picture of him, the video of him in a game against South Dakota State where he's in the pocket. He has to start stepping up. There's a linebacker coming to hit him in the chest, and he delivers a strike over the middle for a big gain for a first down. Everything that people are doubting this kid about, he's done already, and it's just a matter of him going out and showing you on the field with the 49ers. And being at practice and watching him do it, believe the things that you guys are being told, And whether or not Garoppolo is the starter week 1 or it's Lance, know that the 49ers are in really good hands. I could when I got home on Wednesday, I talked to my brother about it, and my brother's kind of my right hand man when it comes to football. That's how I learned football really. And I was like, dude, this guy is the real deal. This is everything you would think that this guy could be. That's who he is. So get excited.
Yeah, it's funny that listening to you talk about how you had it wrong in the beginning. By the way, if you listened to me early on before the trade happened, when we were at 12, I had said if Lance falls to San Francisco and they take him, out of all the quarterbacks, he would be the biggest disaster. And just like you and just like really everybody else that only put eyes on him one time, there was something missed, something big missed. And talking to Coach McAvoy, really even about a week or two before that, because I just started, diving into more and more film and really looking at it objectively and saying, this kid is something special. Like, this is something I haven't seen before. And again, people try to make comps and they ask me what my comp is, and I don't know. And that's a good thing. Every quarterback I've said I don't know about has turned out to be special. So I feel really good about this because I don't know what the comp is for Lance. But what I can say is if you've only sat down and watched a little bit or have watched somebody's breakdown on YouTube that wasn't Jack's or somebody that is on Team Lance essentially, and you did this before the draft process, chances are you're in the same boat that everybody else is the first time through. It's like there's those movies. There's Zoolander, Napoleon Dynamite that you watch one time through and you're like, what is this? And then you watch it again and you're like, oh God, this is one of the most genius comedies I've ever seen. So that's the way it is with Trey Lance. You watch it one time through and you're like, whatever. Like, there's no way. And then you watch it again and you start to hear what his responsibilities really were. And it's a whole different ballgame.
Absolutely. And I know at one point during this whole draft process, one of the guys that I really like to listen to, he's not anybody that anybody knows. He's just one of the guys that used to always comment over at the Press Democrat blog. And he was the guy that early in the process, the year that Patrick Mahomes came out, he was all over Patrick Mahomes. Grant's had him on his channel in a couple of videos. But one of the things that he was talking about was, part of the reason he liked Mahomes was because of the background and his makeup. And I think that goes into part of what we all missed about Trey Lance, because I did not realize that Trey Lance's dad had been in the NFL and been a 49er and on that, trying to make the roster in 94 until right before the draft, right before he got selected. That's when I found that out. And if I had known that a little bit earlier, there might have been it's just, kids of, if your father was a professional athlete at any level, you're going to get some teaching that other kids aren't going to get, no matter, and not necessarily, you might not get their genes as far as their athletic ability, but you're going to learn things that other people aren't going to learn because those guys know how to compete and they're going to be able to teach their kids how to compete. And that's one of the biggest things I think with Trey Lance is I think that, he sounds like he's a great guy, but he's a heck of a competitor and he knows how to compete. And, from everything I've heard, he did it really well in basketball, and he's, gone on to do that in the, in football as well. So it's pretty amazing. I think that would be the one thing that I know I missed outside of the football that makes guys a winner.
Yeah, and if he starts week 1, one of the things I keep getting is, oh, you're going to be vindicated. Like, you were the one on this and da-da. It's like, listen, it truly is not about that. For me, knowing that Trey Lance was recruited to play safety and linebacker, going to an FCS school, playing 1 year with a limited amount of passes, coming to the NFL, everything being traded for him, and still right now he's being doubted. For me, it's proving Trey Lance right. That's the most important thing, and that's why I'm pounding the drum, because I know how special this kid's going to be. A lot of people are starting to see it. We saw it, for a while now, but I know that this kid is going to be different, okay? And I'm not saying he's going to be Steve Young or Joe Montana, but I would be shocked if at a minimum he's not the third best quarterback this franchise has ever seen by far and away. And Trey Lance is a kid that we could potentially have as our quarterback for the next 15 plus years. It's time to get excited, and it's time to just be full in behind this kid. Let's get him started. If he's the best player, which it seems like he is, I don't care what's going on, training camp, preseason, whatever. Let's just get fully behind this kid because he is our future and he is going to be special. I can guarantee you that.